Hello and welcome to the Alpha Edge Podcast, the show for men over 50 who refuse to fade out, slow down, play small, or settle for average. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert, coach, and founder of the Alpha Edge, and I am here to help you get and stay strong in every dimension of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, morally, and spiritually. You're here because you're ready to reclaim your power, to own your masculinity, and lead your life with strength and purpose. If you're ready to sharpen your edge, revive your drive, and lead like a man who's built for more, you're in the right place. All right, man, let's get after it. Let me start out today with a statement that might sound a little counterintuitive to some of you guys, and it's this. Most of what you're blaming on aging isn't aging, it's deconditioning. Yeah, I said it. Your low energy that you keep joking about, not aging. Those stiff joints you blame on your birthday candles, not aging. Those extra 25 pounds, the lost strength, the short temper, the brain fog, the disappearing drive, that's not your age. That's what happens when a man slowly, quietly, unintentionally stops training his body, his mind, and his standards. Now, don't get me wrong, aging is real. We're not pretending we're 25 here, but most of what men call getting old is actually something very different. It's what happens when challenge leaves your life, when structure leaves your week, when standards get negotiated, when comfort becomes the default setting. And today, what I want to do is draw a hard line between true aging and avoidable decline. Because look, one is inevitable. The aging is undefeated, but the other is reversible. And if you've tuned into this show, you're not done yet, not even close. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's start this out by talking about where this belief even comes from, this idea that decline over 50 is just, it's normal and it's unavoidable, because it didn't come from your body. It came from culture. Modern culture has built a very comfortable story for men past midlife, and it goes something like this. Slow down. Take it easy. Best years are behind you. Don't push too hard. Be careful. Act your age. And on the surface, this sounds caring and reasonable, but underneath, it's quietly destructive because expectations shape behavior and behavior shapes outcomes. If a man expects decline, he trains less. If he trains less, he weakens. If he weakens, everyone nods and says, well, that's aging. No, that's surrender with a birthday candle on top. And look, you see it everywhere. Think about the commercials they show that have men our age in there. Commercials that show a 50 or 60-year-old man and he's tired or he's confused or fragile or maybe he's just comic relief. And the fitness industry markets senior workouts that look like warm-ups and chair exercises, even for men who are fully capable of real training. And of course, the medical system often treats symptoms of lifestyle decay as inevitable age outcomes. And don't miss this part. There is a lot of money in convincing you that decline is unavoidable. Because if decline is normal and unavoidable, then you don't change your behavior. You just buy treatments. You buy pills instead of discipline, procedures instead of training, management instead of mastery. Now, let me be clear. I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not anti-help, but I am 100% anti-helplessness. And the cultural script for us guys over 50 is dripping with helplessness. It lowers the bar. It lowers expectations. It lowers standards. And when standards drop, men shrink. Not because they're old, but because they stop being challenged. So we're going to reject that script right now. We're tossing that script in the trash. So let's ground this conversation in some reality here, because I don't deal in hype. I don't deal in denial or any kind of fantasy toughness. That's not what we're about here. And let's say it like it is. Aging is real. Your body does change with time. Hormones are going to shift. Recovery takes longer. Connective tissue isn't as elastic as it used to be. And you don't bounce back from stupidity the way you did when you were 25. All of that's true. But here's where most men, and honestly most messaging, get this wrong. The rate and severity of decline most men experience is not caused by aging alone. It's caused by aging plus inactivity, aging plus muscle loss, aging plus poor sleep, aging plus chronic stress, aging plus zero structured training. And guys, that combination, that's what creates that steep drop-off. Not birthdays by themselves. So let me give you some clarity here. Real biological aging tends to look like this. You may lose a bit of maximal speed, but not strength training capacity. You may need some more recovery, but not zero training. You may need smarter programming, but not softer standards. You may need better sleep, but not permanent fatigue. Those are just adjustments. They're not disqualifications. And here's what true aging does not automatically cause. It does not automatically cause obesity. It does not automatically cause frailty. It does not automatically cause immobility. It does not automatically cause weakness or emotional volatility or a loss of purpose and drive. Those are not age outcomes. Those are training outcomes, or lack of training outcomes is a better way of putting that. Aging changes the rules. It does not end the game. You don't train like a reckless 28-year-old anymore. I mean, you certainly shouldn't, but you absolutely should train like a disciplined, strategic, dangerous 58-year-old. Different approach, same commitment. And once you understand that distinction, something really powerful starts to happen. You stop excusing decline and you start engineering capability. So, if that's the case, if most of what we're blaming on aging is actually deconditioning, then we need to define this clearly, because you can't fix what you won't name. Deconditioning is what happens when a man's capacity slowly declines because challenge slowly disappears. Not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly. So let's paint the picture. Physically, deconditioning looks like this. You get winded doing things that used to be easy. You avoid stairs when no one's looking. Your strength numbers keep drifting down if you're even tracking them at all. Muscle disappears and fat replaces it. Your joints feel old, but mostly because they're underused and underloaded. Movement gets smaller, slower, and more cautious. Not because you're ancient, but because you're detrained. Now, mentally, it shows up too. Your stress tolerance drops. Little problems start to feel like big problems. You procrastinate more. You avoid hard things faster. You negotiate with yourself constantly. I'll start Monday. Not today. Too busy. Too tired. Guys, that's not wisdom. That's erosion of mental edge. And then emotionally, deconditioning shows up as shorter patience and probably lower resilience overall. You're more reactive, you're more irritable, you're more withdrawn, less willing to engage conflict directly, maybe less willing to say what needs to be said, to say those hard things. And your emotional range starts to narrow. And here's what most men don't expect. Moral and behavioral deconditioning happen as well. Your personal standards quietly drop. Promises to yourself get a little softer. Lines you swore you'd never cross, they get negotiated. Principles become suggestions. Excuses sound more reasonable, especially your own. You start choosing what's easy over what's right more often than you care to admit. Guys, that's deconditioning. Not the wrinkles, not the gray hair, not another birthday. Deconditioning is loss of capacity. It's loss of edge. It's loss of standard, loss of readiness. And the most dangerous part, it feels normal while it's happening because it happens so gradually. It's insidious. Most men didn't wake up one day and they got old. They just stopped training in more areas in their life than they realized. And here's where this gets serious. Deconditioning is not just a state. It's a spiral. It's a downward negative spiral. It feeds itself. Once capacity starts dropping, a chain reaction begins, and if a man doesn't interrupt it, it starts to accelerate. It usually starts small. You train a little less. Maybe you move a little less. Maybe you push a little less because you're busy or you're stressed or you're distracted, whatever. And less activity leads to less capacity. Less capacity makes effort feel harder. And when effort feels harder, you avoid it more often. So activity drops again. Now we're going to layer in some sleep. Because you're under-muscled and under-trained, your sleep quality starts to drop. Poor sleep drives worse food decisions. Worse nutrition drives lower energy, and lower energy reduces training intensity. And round it goes. And then comes the psychological hit. So now we have capability going down and we've got confidence following it. You stop seeing yourself as strong. You stop seeing yourself as capable. You stop seeing yourself as the kind of man who does hard things. So your identity shrinks to match your current behavior. And once your identity starts to shrink, your standards fall even faster. You start saying things like, I'm just not that guy anymore. I guess this is just how it is now. Or at my age, ... fill in the blank. That phrase, at my age, has ended more personal comebacks than any injury ever has. And one more layer that a lot of guys don't think about is isolation. When men decondition, they tend to withdraw. less challenge, less competition, less brotherhood, less accountability. No one calling them higher, no one seeing them drift. So the spiral tightens. We got less movement, less challenge, less identity, less connection until the decline feels inevitable, even though it was built step by step. But here's the good news. Anything that spirals down can be trained back up. So let's talk about that. The body and the mind remain trainable way longer than most men have been led to believe. And I've heard this called the reconditioning principle. So your systems adapt to demand at almost any age, not magically, not instantly, but reliably. Muscle can be rebuilt after 50. Strength can increase after 60. Endurance can improve after 70. Balance, coordination, mobility, they're all trainable. And the research is crystal clear on this, but you don't even need to research it because you've seen it anecdotally. You've all seen dudes in their 50s, 60s, even 70s who are strong, capable, sharp, and steady. And they're not mutants. They're not freaks. They are trained. Adaptation does not disappear with age. It becomes more specific. And you just have to give your body a reason to adapt. You got to load and have some effort and consistency. We need to bake in some recovery, and then we've got to rinse and repeat. Same principle applies mentally. Stress tolerance is trainable. Focus is trainable. Discipline is trainable. Emotional control and grounding is trainable. Even things like courage. Your courage is trainable because courage is often just repeated exposure to discomfort with some standards attached to that. Now, does reconditioning look exactly like training at 25? No, of course not. You train smarter. You respect recovery. You program intelligently. You remove the ego and you increase the precision. But the commitment level, it's got to stay high, maybe even higher because now it matters more. Here's a line I'd love to just burn into your brain. You cannot stop aging, but you 100% absolutely can stop deconditioning. And when you reverse deconditioning, something really powerful happens. Energy starts to come back. Confidence comes back. Capability comes back. And identity comes back. The man starts to come back, starts to come back alive. And when that happens, we're no longer talking about survival. We're talking about strength again. So let's talk about a new scoreboard that we measure that strength by. Because if we're throwing out fake aging narratives and we're actually committing to reconditioning, then we're going to need a new scorecard because most men are still using the wrong one. They're measuring themselves by scale weight and by mirror abs or by pant size or maybe bench press numbers from 1998. And look, none of that's useless, but it's incomplete. And after 50, incomplete measures lead to bad decisions. We need a better scoreboard. We need a stronger one. We need a more masculine scoreboard. So here's how I want you to start measuring yourself now. We measure capability, not cosmetics. We measure strength relative to your body weight and your season of life from your starting point right now. Are you getting stronger this year or weaker? We measure movement quality. Can you squat? Can you hinge, carry, climb? Can you get down and up off the ground? And can you move with control? Or are you avoiding these positions? We measure daily energy. Do you have gas in the tank or are you surviving on caffeine and willpower? We measure recovery discipline. Are you sleeping like it matters or are you winging it and then wondering why you feel wrecked all the time? We measure mental toughness. Do you keep commitments to yourself? Do you do hard things on schedule or only when you feel like it? We measure emotional control. Can you stay steady under pressure or are you reactive and brittle and easily thrown off your game? We measure moral follow through. Do your actions match your stated values, especially when it's inconvenient? And we measure spiritual grounding. Are you anchored to something higher or are you just drifting with culture and with mood? And this right here, this is your 5-pillar scorecard. We talk about it all the time on this show. Your physical strength, your mental strength, your emotional strength, your moral strength, your spiritual strength. Because a strong man's not just lean, he's steady, he's capable, he's reliable, he's anchored. And here's the key. When you change the scorecard, you change the behavior. And when you change the behavior, you change the man. So let's make this practical. Let's make this immediate. Let's talk about what you can do starting today. today. So no more theory. Let's turn this into action like right now, because insight without action is it's just entertainment. It's just fluff. And you're not here to be entertained. You're here to sharpen your edge. So I'm going to give you a simple, no excuses, immediate reconditioning challenge. I don't want you to start this next month. I don't want you to start this when things settle down. Start today. Just 3 moves. That's it. So move number 1, lift something. Look, I don't care if it's a barbell, dumbbells, kettlebells, resistant bands, or maybe it's even your own body weight, but load your muscles today. Squat, push, pull, carry, hinge. Remind your body that it is still required to produce force, because muscle is not maintained by intention, it's maintained by tension. Move number 2, I want you to walk with purpose. Not some casual shuffle into the next room while you're scrolling your phone. I'm talking about 20 to 30 minutes of deliberate walking. Upright posture, strong stride, lungs working. This isn't cardio, but it's neurological. Movement is restorative. It restores physical and mental momentum. And then move number 3, eat like a man who trains. Fuel yourself like a man who is getting stronger. So today, prioritize protein, hydrate like it matters, and cut one junk input. Just one. This is not a diet, it's a decision. So let's zoom out to this week. Here's your 7-day reset framework. So schedule your training sessions on your calendar, like appointments. Set a fixed sleep target and protect it. And then remove one comfort behavior that you know is dragging you down. Maybe it's late night junk snacking or some extra alcohol, mindless screen time. Just pick one and eliminate it for this week. You're not trying to be perfect here, but you're reestablishing command. Momentum beats intensity at this stage. Small, decisive actions done immediately and consistently beat big plans that are never done every day. So don't wait until you feel ready. Action creates readiness. So let me leave you with one more observation, just straight truth from years of coaching men in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Very few men are able to rebuild alone. Not because they're weak or there's anything wrong with them, but just because they're human. So left to our own devices, most of us tend to drift. We negotiate, we delay, we rationalize. Even smart men, even disciplined men, especially busy men. I see it over and over again and again. The men who make the strongest comebacks are rarely operating in isolation. They've got some structure, they have some accountability, and they got other men around them who are also choosing higher standards. There is something so powerful that happens when men train and grow shoulder to shoulder. Their standards rise faster. Consistency locks in sooner, and excuses die quickly. Because when you say, I'll do it tomorrow, nobody hears that but you. But when other men know your standard, tomorrow gets a whole lot harder to negotiate. This isn't about dependency. Think about it as environment. Environment beats willpower every single time. Put a man in a culture of comfort, he's going to soften. But put a man in a culture of standards, he's going to sharpen. Guys, you were not designed to walk the hard road completely alone. Men build strength best in aligned company. Just something for you guys to keep in mind as you start raising your standards again. So let's bring this home here. Most of what you've been blaming on aging is not aging. It's deconditioning. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's an opportunity, because aging is inevitable, but deconditioning is not. It's reversible. You're not broken. You're certainly not finished. You're not past your prime. You're just undertrained, and we can fix that with load, with structure, with standards, with consistency. So I want you to retire a phrase starting today. Stop saying, I'm getting old, or I'm too old for this. I want you to replace it with this. I'm getting trained. So you're not too old. You are getting trained. That's your new identity. A trained man, a strengthening man, a man rebuilding capacity across his body, his mind, his character, and his spirit. So, guys, that's what I've got for you today. Do me a favor. If this episode hit with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with one man who needs a wake-up call. And take our challenge seriously. Lift something. Walk with purpose. Eat like a man who trains. No drama, no heroics, just standards. I'll see you guys in the next episode. And until then, stay strong. Okay, men, that's our show for this week. Don't forget to download our free guide titled How to Raise Your Testosterone Naturally. You can find the download link in the show notes for this episode on whatever app you're listening to this podcast on. If you've enjoyed today's show, here are 3 ways you can support us. Number 1, share this episode with a friend. Number 2, make sure to like and follow this show, and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Number 3, give us a follow over at Instagram. We're at Alpha Edge Army. So that's Alpha Edge Army all run together. I really appreciate you men taking the time to listen. And until next week, stay strong.